Welcome back, True Seeker. It's the April 24th sports review. 3 big playoff games today. The date numerology 67, 40, 22. Also, the lesser method of 47. So here's what we're looking at. The home teams are big favorites. Both teams are trying to close out the series 4-1. I think the more likely team to close it out tonight is the Warriors. Before this series even began, we predicted the Warriors would win the series 4-1 because Oakland equals 41, Golden State equals 41, and LA equals 41. Thus, both teams have a connection to 41. Game 5, when written out, also sums to 41, and today's exactly 41 days after Steph Curry's birthday. So how perfect is that? If Steve Kerr wins today, he gets his 67th playoff win as a coach, but he could also get his 22nd playoff loss today. That's the only thing I could really see going against the Warriors. The one thing the Clippers do have going is they could get their 93rd win against the Warriors all-time. Oracle Arena equals 93. I would be really surprised, though, if the Clippers won. If Steve Kerr gets his 67th playoff win today, Doc Rivers will remain at 19 playoff wins. 67, the 19th prime, so both coaches' records would make a lot of sense with the Warriors win today. So I favor the Warriors there. They're a 14.5 point favorite. They're not a great payout. To me, not even worth betting on. The Jazz and the Rockets. This game is very lopsided in Vegas. Right now, 96% of the money is on the Rockets. 96%. That tells me that if the Rockets are going to win this game, they're probably not going to cover the spread. It was 8.5 not long ago. It's down to 8. If the Rockets win tonight, they win 4-1. Houston equals 41. However, Houston also equals 32, and Utah Jazz is 32. So you actually have an overlap with 32, just like Houston and Utah's 31, and this series is 3-1 right now. So, here's the concern for the Rockets. Well, first, let's just say what's in the Rockets' favor. If the Rockets win tonight, D'Antoni, the coach of the Rockets, stays at 45 losses in the playoffs. He just picked up his 45th loss against the Jazz on the lesser date numerology of 45. Jazz equals 45. If he wins tonight, he gets his 47th playoff win on the lesser date numerology of 47. Don't forget it's the Warriors' 47th season in Oakland. They put up that banner on April 7th. The Philadelphia Warriors won the championship in 47. So if D'Antoni advances tonight, his loss record makes sense against the Jazz, exiting the series at 45 losses. However, if the Jazz could pull the upset tonight, here's what's interesting. The next game would be Friday. Both teams have a potential Game 6 Friday. The Game 6 for the Rockets and Jazz is a little bit more interesting, the potential of it, because the Rockets right now are at 23 away wins, meaning their next away win would be number 24, and this date, April 26, 2019, is a date with 24 numerology. If the Rockets lost tonight, I think they would be in great shape to win Game 6. Also, about both of tonight's games, April 24th. Again, today has the 22 date numerology. Something that's very interesting is the Rockets are going for their 79th home win against the Jazz, and the Warriors are going for their 79th home win against the Clippers. 79, the 22nd prime. So, the only game that would really surprise me here is if the Warriors lost. There's plenty of riddle on the board to think that the Jazz could upset the Rockets. And if I were to bet this game, which I don't know if I would, like I said in the live stream, we get to bet every day. You don't have to bet every day, though. But every day there's opportunities to find really good reads. I wouldn't say either of the reads tonight are great. Like yesterday in the NBA, both reads were very good. And both games came... Well, we had 2 games that were very good, right? And both of them went as expected. And with the Blazers, it was tighter, but we said, I think the Blazers are going to win and they're not going to cover. And that also happened. So the Blazers read like yesterday's, kind of like how both of these games are. A little bit tighter. The Warriors looks more confident, but they're just such a big favorite. It's just like, who cares? The Rockets-Jazz game, though, I mean, you can make a narrative for Game 6 here. You can. Also, if the Jazz win tonight, remember, this stat's not getting updated with the playoffs. So they haven't won away yet. They haven't won in Houston. They've lost twice in Houston. They lost the first 2 games. So right now they're 21-22 away. Utah equals 22, and they could potentially become 22-22 away tonight on the 22 date. So, I mean, if you're the guy that has to bet on every game, the smartest bet I would say in the Jazz-Rockets game is the Jazz to cover. Because, well, you could have got it earlier when I also mentioned this when it was 8.5. Now it's down to 8. But just based on the fact that all the money in Vegas is on the Rockets, I mean, they have a narrative to win, but if they win, I'm guessing they probably win by a margin less than 8. So tomorrow's basketball game has a better narrative than today's, okay? And it'll be more of an even game, so a decent payout. Now in the NHL tonight, very interesting game. Just one game tonight in the NHL. It looks like the winner of this game is going to play April 26th. Okay, because you see how there's 2 games tomorrow for the next round. There's 2 games scheduled for Saturday. The only team that we don't know about the next round yet is the winner of tonight's game. And I imagine there'll end up being 2 games on the 26th. The Islanders versus whoever wins tonight. Now, we'll talk about that piece first. The coach of the Islanders, he coached the Capitals last year, who won their first Stanley Cup, and then bizarrely left the team and coached another team. I mean, how does that even make sense? So if the Capitals advance tonight, they would face their coach from last year, and that just seems to have a narrative, doesn't it? We checked in the live stream from Friday the 26th, if that is the date of the game, which I can only assume it is, from that day to the birthday of the coach of the Islanders who coached the Capitals last year, it's a span of 81 days. And what's so interesting about that is Capitals equals 81. So could he be facing his old team, the Capitals, come that day? Now, that said, if I didn't look at that and I didn't know that riddle, I'd be favoring the Hurricanes tonight because... Let me just put it up here real quick. Let me put it up here so you can see it with your own eyes. The Capitals are at 135 wins, right? And 146 losses. What's really interesting is the Capitals star player Ovechkin, his birthday is 146 days from today, or a span of 147 days. So they can stay at 146 losses, or they can get their 147th. Remember yesterday with Russell Westbrook, it was 162 days from his birthday, and the Oklahoma City team could become 162 and 162 in the playoffs. It was also a span of 163 days to his birthday. His team could also get the 163rd loss. The span is the number that hit. They did get the 163rd loss. So it's kind of the same thing here for Ovechkin. And in that same breath, I should let you know that in the NBA, tonight, James Harden, it's 124 days from his birthday or a span of 125. That number comes up with the Utah playoff record. They can stay at 124 wins or get their 125th win. If I see the Capitals lose tonight and the Jazz win and pair that with what I saw yesterday with Westbrook, I'm going to remember that the span of days has been a little bit more significant than the distance without the span. Okay, so that's something I'm observing tonight. I'm gonna add to my knowledge book tonight. But coming back to this NHL thing, with regards to the Capitals being at 135 wins, here's what's so interesting about that. Capitals equals 135. They play in Capital One Arena, go figure. Capital One Arena equals 135. and Carolina Hurricanes also equals 135. So if they didn't win, they'd stay at 135 losses. Their season would end right there. Kind of like how Orlando Magic equals 58, and last night they ended the season at 58 playoff wins. Carolina. Now what's so interesting about them is they're at 62 wins. Hurricanes equals 62, but making this very difficult, Capitals equals 63. With regards to the head-to-head between these teams, I want you to see this. The Capitals, their record against the Hurricanes is 101, 65, and 14. This will be the 101st Stanley Cup, but at the 102nd season. So both numbers are relevant to the season. They're at 56 home wins. Washington, D.C. equals 56. If they lost tonight, they'd stay at 56. Playoffs are dead even, 3-3. Remember, D is 4, C is 3, D.C. Last year, the Capitals won it in their 43rd season. Either team could become 4-3 against each other in D.C. It is very tight. We looked at the goalies, it's very tight. We looked at the coaches, it's very tight. This game is tight. What I can say is, looking at the Vegas money, all of the money is on the Capitals, over 90%, just like the Rockets. So if the Capitals don't cover, Vegas wins. Capitals very well could win this game, but not cover. If I had to bet, I'd bet the Hurricanes to cover. But personally, as tight as it is, just remember, you don't have to bet every single day. Yesterday, we had 3 really good reads. They all hit. We had 1 pretty good read, it hit. So out of the 4, games, well, the Toronto game, we went with an assumption, but we didn't have any good read on that. But the point is, if you're patient and you wait for the good games, you're probably going to be a lot more happier with your outcomes. If you bet today, it's kind of like a roll of the dice. You can use the Vegas strategy. That is a strategy. Hurricanes cover. Vegas wins huge. If the Jazz cover, Vegas wins huge. The Warriors-Clippers game is like a little bit more evenly matched. About 2/3 of the money's on the Warriors, but when isn't it? So, I will let you make your own decisions. This is the best information from over 2 hours of decoding I can give you. Some days are going to be better than others. So we'll leave it there. Be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. One more thought before I go. If the Warriors do close it out tonight, remember today has the 54 connection. Oracle equals 54. They like that number. So today leaves 251 days left in the year, the 54th prime. And for you baseball fans, if you're looking at baseball tonight, if you see any big 54s come up, something to keep in mind there. All right. Good luck, everybody. Be back tomorrow.